Part 2. A Saiyan's Love. 1 month. Well, it didn't feel like a month. To Anne Frank, a Jew hiding from the Nazis, it seemed like a year. 1 month since the fateful encounter with the mysterious man from another world, who she only knew as Goku. The handsome stranger had stepped through time and into her life, then disappeared without a trace. Anne was almost sure they'd never meet again, even though not one day passed without her dreaming of him. Little did she know, however, that their lives were tied by the unbreakable red string of fate. It was another boring day in the secret annex. Anne sat on the bed of her room, writing in her diary. It never occurred to her, however, that this entry would be her last. As she wrote in the quiet attic, there was a loud noise from downstairs. Her heart jumped with both fear and excitement. Was it them? The Nazis? Or could it be him? She had no idea whether to run downstairs or to hide. That decision, however, was made for her. Her door flew open, and a tall soldier was visible in the doorway, glaring at her. The cries of her family members and friends were tuned out as Anne only thought of one thing. She stood up and followed the soldier out of the room, down the stairs, and into the back of a truck. So this is it, she said quietly to herself. I'll never see him, my one true love, ever again. And all those years of hiding, they were for naught. Then, Anne realized that she left her precious diary up in her room. She broke loose from the officer and made a dash back into the shop, when he removed a gun from his holster and fired a shot in her direction. Anne lay on the floor, feeling a searing pain run through her leg, where the bullet had met its mark. The Gestapo officer menacingly moved towards her, grinning, when all of a sudden there was a blinding flash of light, causing the officer to shield his eyes. A huge cloud of smoke appeared next to Anne, blocking her from the soldier's vision. When the smoke cleared, he was in for quite a surprise. There was Goku, holding Anne in his arms, standing next to a huge metal capsule. Goku, Anne cried. You came back. For me. Goku smiled. Anything for you, my dear, he said. Our love will never be lost, not until the end of time. The Gestapo officer turned tail and ran, but Goku was too quick for him. After laying Anne on the concrete, he dashed towards the Nazi and knocked him to the ground unconscious with only one blow. Nazi scum, muttered Goku as he spit on the enemy's limp body, then returned to Anne. Here, I have something for you, Goku said, as he removed a small bean from his pocket. What on earth is this? Asked Anne. Goku smiled. Remember how ignorant she was to what was everyday life for him. A sensu bean, he said. Just eat it, and it will cure your leg. Anne followed his instructions and popped the bean into her mouth, as the wound on her calf magically healed. Now come on, commanded Goku. We've got some Nazi ass to kick. Anne jumped on the mysterious Saiyan's back as he launched off into the sky. After only a few moments, the two of them arrived in Berlin. Tanks were parading down the street as Adolf Hitler himself stood on a platform overlooking it all. Stay here, Goku said, dropping Anne in a shaded area under a tree. He then flew straight towards the parade of tanks, fist outstretched, screaming as loud as he could. The soldiers below scattered in terror while the tanks tried to aim their cannons at him. He was too quick and nimble for them, however, and opened the hatch of a nearby panzer, then headed inside. After dispatching of the soldiers in control of the war machine, he took the wheel. He fired round after round into the crowds of Nazi soldiers, occasionally firing at other tanks. After only minutes, there was nothing but a cloud of dust and corpses. Goku emerged from the tank's hatch, smiling now that he had done his duty. When all the dust cleared, there were only 2 people remaining on the parade ground. Goku, the Saiyan hero, and Adolf Hitler, the most evil man to ever walk the earth. Anne watched from nearby fearfully as she saw the 2 men stare at each other for what seemed like hours. Her one true love, and her ultimate oppressor. It had come down to this. So, Hitler said jovially, you took out all of my men. However, you aren't going to defeat me. Hitler then jumped down from his platform and down onto the street in front of Goku, pulling a chain gun from the ground nearby. Goku quickly jumped behind a ruined tank as Adolf opened fire. The tank made decent cover, but it wasn't long until it would be torn apart by the hail of bullets. Goku had to act. He dashed out from the side of the tank and flew as fast as he could toward Hitler, who had no time to react. He grabbed the chain gun out of his enemy's hands and snapped it over his knee with ease. Hitler stumbled backwards, shocked at the turn of events. Goku smirked and said, "It's come down to this. You and me, fighting like men. If you admit defeat now, I'll kill you rather painlessly." Goku had the definite advantage, or so it seemed. Hitler burst into a laugh as Goku looked on quizzically. The mustachioed man slowly rose into the air as his brown hair and pencil mustache turned a blonde color and his brown eyes turned blue. Goku reeled in horror. Hitler continued laughing, then finally said, "Goku, you came here expecting to find a madman, but instead you found a god." Hitler had become a Super Saiyan. Anne looked on in awe, not sure what was going on. At first, it seemed like her lover would win the battle, but now she was not so sure. Goku seemed scared of his opponent, and it was for good reason. Hitler continued to speak. "Goku, can't you see? I've reached a power level 10 times anything you've ever reached. Your fate is sealed, weakling." Even though the battle seemed unwinnable, Goku charged in, screaming at the top of his lungs. Every blow he struck was deflected off of Hitler's rock-hard body. Hitler waited for Goku to tire himself out, then raised his fist and punched Goku, and one punch was enough. Goku was knocked across the street into a large propaganda poster of Hitler, thudding to the cold, hard ground. Hitler laughed, thinking that victory was in his hands at last. Goku, however, was not ready to give up. Bruised and battered, he rose from the ground, limping in Hitler's direction. The Nazi leader laughed. "You still want to fight? Don't you know when to give up, boy? You can hardly walk, and you expect to beat me, conqueror of Europe." Goku ignored Adolf's taunts as he continued to stumble his way forward. Finally, the two arch-rivals were standing face to face. Goku stared Hitler into the eye, then screamed, "This is for love!" And he flew up into the sky, his hair turning blonde, his eyes blue, and an aura of power radiating from him. Hitler looked in horror at Goku. He had made the ultimate achievement. He had become a Super Ultra Power Saiyan. Goku made a cup shape with his hands, aiming at Hitler as he belted out the words, "Kame, Kame, Ha!" as a beam of pure energy shot at his enemy, disintegrating the Nazi leader's body. Goku then collapsed to the ground in a heap, exhausted from the fight. 2 years later, Anne and Goku had finally reached the date of their wedding. After the battle, Anne and Goku had destroyed the time machine and took a boat to Australia. They changed their names and lived new lives, ready to start over. Two young people looked into each other's eyes as they kissed, as the Reverend pronounced them man and wife. Finally, it seemed, Anne was at peace, and they would always be together until the end of time.